The Billionaire's Great Escape: Survival of the 0.1%. Welcome to the end of the world. Alright, let's get straight to the point. Have you ever wondered why Mark Zuckerberg suddenly started raising cattle on a remote Hawaiian ranch and building a $270 million bunker? Or why Jeff Bezos moved to Florida, just a stone's throw away from his rocket pads? While we're out here debating which coffee to grab in the morning, the wealthiest people on Earth, the 0.1%, are busy preparing for the moment the world as we know it simply stops working. They call it the event. Sounds like a title for a cheap horror flick, right? But for them, it's a high-stakes business reality, whether it's an AI uprising, climate collapse, or just the moment the masses decide it's time to redistribute the wealth. Today, on Alibi Analysis, we're not just talking about their fears. We're diving into their blueprints, breaking down their logic, and figuring out why are the people who own the world so desperate to run away from it?
Buckle up. The next 13 minutes will change everything you thought you knew about security. This is the chronicle of the Billionaire Exodus. Let's go.
Alibi Analysis.
Fact number 1. Protocol, the event, and the fear of their own guards. Let's start with the weirdest part. Back in 2018, Douglas Rushkoff, this brilliant media theorist, got an invitation. He thought it was a standard tech keynote, but when he arrived at a luxury desert resort, instead of an audience, he found 5 ultra-wealthy guys from Silicon Valley. And they didn't ask him about Bitcoin or VR. They spent the entire night grilling him on one question: how do I maintain authority over my security force after the event? Think about that. You're sitting on a mountain of cash, you have everything, but you realize the moment the bank servers go dark, your millions become nothing but worthless pixels. Your guards, ex-Navy SEALs, and special agents will suddenly realize that the guy in the expensive hoodie isn't their boss anymore. He's just the guy in the way. And this is where it gets dark. Rushkoff reported that these billionaires were seriously discussing smart locks on food supplies that only they could open. But it goes further. There are whispers about disciplinary collars. Yeah, you heard me right. Electric shock collars for staff. They want to create a new form of IT feudalism, where the guard isn't an employee, he's a technological serf tied to his master. This is next-level paranoia. You build the most secure fortress in history, but you're terrified of the person standing right behind you. Fact number 2. New Zealand, the plan B with a view of Mordor. Okay, so the world is going to hell. Where do you run? Switzerland? Too close to Europe. The US mountains? Too many armed neighbors. Billionaires chose New Zealand. And no, it's not because they're Lord of the Rings superfans. It's the most isolated piece of land with its own ecosystem, plenty of fresh water, and fertile farms. Here's the kicker: the golden visa. Peter Thiel, the co-founder of PayPal, bought his New Zealand citizenship in just 12 days. He snagged 470 acres of land. And guess what? Local authorities didn't even know what he was building until journalists started sniffing around. And he's not alone. Sam Altman from OpenAI once joked that if the event happens, he's just hopping on a plane to Thiel's place. But these aren't just cabins in the woods. They're Earth ships, underground fortresses camouflaged into the landscape. You could bike past one and think, oh, what a nice hill, while right beneath your feet sits a billionaire in a Rising S bunker with a gym, a sauna, and 50 years worth of air. New Zealand is their planetary lifeboat, and the funniest part? The locals have started calling them bunker rats. Imagine living in paradise, and your neighbors are just paranoiacs with nuclear launch codes in their pockets. Fact number 3. The loyalty glitch and shock collars. Okay, here is the darkest part of the bunker life. You've got the food, you've got the air filters, but you're a billionaire, not a soldier. You need guards, so you hire the best, ex-Navy SEALs and Mossad agents. But what happens when the banks go offline? When a dollar bill is just a piece of paper? Why would a guy with a machine gun take orders from a guy who can't even change a tire? This is what terrifies billionaires. When they met with theorist Douglas Rushkoff, they weren't asking about the climate. They asked, how do I maintain authority over my guards after the crash? Their solutions, they are straight out of a horror movie. First, digital starvation. They discussed smart locks on all food supplies. If the guards don't obey, they don't eat. Hunger as a remote control. But it gets worse. They actually talked about disciplinary collars, high-tech collars that could deliver an electric shock if a guard disobeys a command. This is IT feudalism. These tech geniuses want to be the new kings, turning elite soldiers into high-tech slaves on a digital leash. Think about the paranoia. You spend billions to survive, but you're so scared of your own team that you want to put them in chains. Absolutely insane. Fact number 4. The Oppidum, the underground Versailles. If you think a bunker is just a cramped concrete box, you haven't seen the Oppidum. Located in the Czech Republic, this place is officially the largest private bunker on Earth, 30,000 square feet. That's like 3 massive supermarkets, but underground and dripping in gold. The logic is simple. If the world above burns, why should you stop being fancy? The Oppidum has wine cellars, movie theaters, heated pools, and even golf simulators. But the creepiest part is the simulated reality. There are no windows, obviously. Instead, they have massive high-res screens. You wake up, and outside your window, it's a sunrise in the Alps. Birds are chirping, trees are swaying. It's all VR designed to stop you from losing your mind when you realize there are 30 feet of concrete and tons of radiation above your head. They hire teams of psychologists to perfect the lighting and soundscapes. Everything is rigged so your brain doesn't realize you're trapped in the most expensive tin can in human history. It's the underground Versailles. You can sip 1945 wine while the world outside resets. The only question is, how long can you look at fake Alps before you'd give anything for a breath of real air, even if it's toxic? Fact number 5. Parabiosis, the vampire elixir of Silicon Valley. But survival isn't just about the walls around you, it's about the body you're in, and this is where we enter full-on vampire territory. Have you heard of Peter Thiel's obsession with young blood? It's a process called parabiosis. The concept is simple and terrifying. You take the blood of a young healthy mouse, pump it into an old mouse, and suddenly the old mouse starts acting like a teenager again. The billionaires saw this and went, "Yep, I'll take 10 liters please." There were startups like Ambrosia that literally offered blood plasma transfusions from donors aged 16 to 25 for a cool $8,000 a liter. While the FDA was busy facepalming, the demand was through the roof. Jeff Bezos went even further, sinking billions into Altos Labs. This isn't just a clinic. It's a secret mission to reprogram human cells back to their stem state. They're trying to hack the biological clock itself. They don't just want to survive the event in a bunker, they want to come out 50 years later looking exactly the same as the day they went in. They're building a world where aging is a disease that only the poor have to die from. It's not just medicine anymore. It's a biological coup d'etat. Fact number 6. Seasteading, sovereign cities on the high seas.
Alright, but what if the land itself is the problem? Any bunker can be found, besieged, or buried. Some Silicon Valley libertarians looked at the map and realized 70% of the planet is water, and nobody owns it. Enter seasteading. The goal, to build massive autonomous floating cities in international waters. Imagine a high-tech platform that officially belongs to no country. No taxes, no regulations, no extradition treaties. It's the ultimate alibi for anyone wanting to run experiments that would get them life in prison anywhere else. The Seasteading Institute has been drafting these floating sovereign nations for years. They're designed to be totally self-sufficient. Solar farms, desalination plants, and of course, heavy-duty defense systems. If things get ugly on land, your city just pulls up its anchors and drifts into the deep blue, where no government can reach you. It's the final form of escapism, physically, politically, and legally separating yourself from the rest of the human race. You're not just a citizen anymore. You're the king of your own floating pile of high-tech steel and plastic.
Fact number 7. Mind uploading, the glass brain backup plan.
But what if the human body is just bad software? What if it's eventually going to crash no matter how much young blood you pump into it? Sam Altman, the guy behind ChatGPT, and other tech giants are looking at digital immortality. There's a startup called Nectomy, and their tagline is basically, "We'll preserve your brain so we can upload it later." Here's the catch. For the neurons to stay intact for a perfect digital copy, the procedure has to be, well, fatal. They essentially have to embalm you while you're still alive, turning your brain into a glass-like mass while you're conscious. And billionaires are actually signing up for this. Think about it. Why worry about canned food and radiation filters when you can just upload your consciousness to a secure cloud server powered by a nuclear battery deep inside a mountain, while the world below turns to ash? You're living in a perfect VR simulation where the sun always shines and your net worth only goes up. It's the ultimate escape. You're not just leaving your country or your planet. You're leaving biology behind. But the real question is, will it still be you or just a very expensive AI ghost haunting a hard drive?
Fact number 8. Shadow Core, private armies on speed dial.
Back to the real world for a second. Let's say you have the bunker, but you're stuck in downtown NYC and the streets are in total chaos. How do you even get to your escape pod? That's where the Shadow Corps come in. We're talking about private military contractors, XSAS, Navy SEALs, Mossad agents. The super rich have what they call extraction protocols. They pay for 24/7 helicopter standby. They have armored SUVs hidden in unmarked garages all over the city. Companies specializing in executive protection model thousands of scenarios, from chemical attacks to mass civil unrest. In the case of the event, they have exactly 15 minutes to snatch the VIP and get them to a private airfield. But here's the clever part. The families of these mercenaries often live on the billionaire's property already. It's loyalty insurance. You're not protecting the boss for a paycheck anymore. You're protecting him because your wife and kids are in that same bunker. These are shadow armies that, in terms of gear and training, can go toe-to-toe with the special forces of entire nations. When the system fails, the only law left is the one holding the rifle and the billionaire's contract.
Fact number 9. Zero resource living, the nuclear-powered oasis.
Now, imagine you're locked in for a long time. You need to breathe, drink, and eat, but the outside world is a radioactive wasteland. Modern billionaire bunkers aren't just basements. They're basically grounded space stations. They use water recycling systems identical to. They turn your sweat and everything else back into pure drinking water. Energy? Forget solar panels. They're too easy to smash. They use RTGs, radioisotope thermoelectric generators, basically nuclear batteries that pump out heat and electricity for 50 to 80 years without needing a single person to touch them. Inside, they run vertical farms using hydroponics and aquaponics. The fish fertilize the plants clean the water for the fish, and you eat both. It's a perfect closed loop. The billionaires are building a world that literally doesn't need other people anymore. No workers, no farmers, no engineers. Everything is automated, cycled, and silent. It's the perfect model of solitude, total independence from the very planet you're still standing on. Fact number 10, and finale, the golden cage, the madness of solitude. And here is the final fact you won't find in the glossy brochures of bunker builders. Psychology. The human brain isn't wired to live in a concrete box, even if it's lined with gold. Research shows that after just 6 months of total isolation, people start experiencing hallucinations, deep depression, and cognitive decay. The billionaires know this. That's why they design artificial parks with the scent of pine needles and the sound of recorded rain. They hire staff psychologists to create daily schedules so the owner doesn't, well, decide to open the airlock out of sheer boredom. But here's the ultimate irony. You can build the most secure world ever conceived. You can upload your brain, and you can drink all the young blood in the world. But in the end, you're just the king of a basement, while humanity up there is fighting, rebuilding, or even perishing together. You'll be sitting in your perfect, sterile, eternal void. This was Alibi analysis. We've dissected their escape plan. But here's the question for you. If the ship is sinking, who's actually winning? The one fighting for a life on the deck, or the one who locked himself in a safe at the bottom of the ocean? Let us know in the comments. Whose bunker was the craziest? Subscribe for more. Here we uncover the alibis of those who think they're untouchable. See you in the next investigation.